It's January 6th, 2017, and topping the headlines on today's Washington Journal, the testimony of top U.S. intelligence officials reaffirming that Russia was behind efforts to interfere with the U.S. presidential election. The head of the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, told Senate lawmakers yesterday that Russia hacked emails of Democratic operatives as well as disseminated fake news in an effort to influence the election. And the U.S. must do more to counter such social media propaganda efforts in the future. The intelligence officials testifying at yesterday's Senate hearing are set to meet today with President-elect Donald Trump to brief him in detail about their findings of Russian involvement, findings which Trump has openly questioned in recent weeks. So we're asking our viewers today, do you trust U.S. intelligence? Democrats can call 202-748-8000. Republicans can call 202-748-8001. And independents can call 202-748-8002. You can also reach us on social media, on Twitter at C-SPAN WJ, and on Facebook at facebook.com/C-SPAN. And more on yesterday's testimony by intelligence officials in today's Wall Street Journal. It says top American intelligence officials reaffirmed and broadened their accusations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election at a Senate hearing Thursday, rejecting President-elect Donald Trump's suggestions that their conclusions on the matter could be faulty or false. Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, speaking at a Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on foreign cyber threats, described the multifaceted Russian campaign that went beyond leaking hacked emails from the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman to include classic propaganda, disinformation, and fake news. Clapper said, "I don't think we've ever encountered a more aggressive or direct campaign to interfere with our election process," he said. And we can take a look at some of what played out at yesterday's hearing when Senator John McCain gave his opening statement Thursday about his confidence in the intelligence community. Let's take a look.
I am confident that Director Clapper will conduct this review with the same integrity and professionalism that has characterized his nearly half a century of government and military service. I'm equally confident in the dedicated members of our intelligence community. The goal of this review, as I understand it, is not to question the outcome of the presidential election, nor should it be. As both President Obama and President-elect Trump have said, our nation must move forward. But we must do so with full knowledge of the fact. I trust Director Clapper will brief the Congress on his review when it is completed. This is not the time or place to preview its findings. That said, we know a lot already. In October, our intelligence agencies concluded unanimously that, quote, the Russian government directed compromises of emails from U.S. persons and institutions, including from U.S. political organizations. They also assessed that, quote, disclosures of alleged hacked emails were consistent with the methods and motivations of Russian-directed efforts, and that these thefts and disclosures were intended to interfere with the U.S. election process. Since then, our intelligence community has released additional information concerning these Russian activities, including a joint analysis report that provided technical details regarding the tools and infrastructure used by the Russian civilian and military intelligence services to attack the United States. Every American should be alarmed by Russia's attacks on our nation. There is no national security interest more vital to the United States of America than the ability to hold free and fair elections without foreign interference. That's why Congress must set partisanship aside, follow the facts, and work together to devise comprehensive solutions to deter, defend against, and when necessary, respond to foreign cyber attacks.
And the Washington Post is reporting this morning that Russians were caught cheering the results of the election. It says senior officials in the Russian government celebrated Donald Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton as a geopolitical win for Moscow, according to U.S. officials who said that American intelligence agencies intercepted communications in the aftermath of the election in which Russian officials congratulated themselves on the outcome, the ebullient reaction among high-ranking Russian officials, including some who U.S. officials believe had knowledge of the country's cyber campaign to interfere with the U.S. election, contributed to the U.S. intelligence community's assessment that Moscow's efforts were aimed, at least in part, at helping Trump win the White House. We're talking to our viewers about whether you trust U.S. intelligence. Monique's calling in from Washington, D.C. on our Democratic line. Do you trust U.S. intelligence, Monique?
Yes, I do.
What are you
Trust U.S. Intelligence.
What are you on?
Yes, I do trust the U.S. Intelligence. They've kept us safe for as long as I've been on Earth, for the 40 past years of my life. And I find it ironic that the Republicans now don't feel secure, or don't feel like they trust the CIA, the FBI, all of our security that's keeping us safe. But what I do want to say is I will not be spending a dime for the next 4 years if it is not groceries and gas and the necessities. I will not be buying anything that is materialistic. My credit cards will keep a zero balance, and I will just do my protest in silence. I have sat down with my whole family. We have all agreed that we will not spend a dime in this economy. We will sit out our money, and we will watch it fall. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Right. Stephen's calling from St. Louis, Missouri on our independent line. Stephen, do you trust U.S. intelligence?
Yes, I do. Wholeheartedly, I trust them. I was a federal employee for 37 years with the Department of Defense, had a top secret clearance. I do trust them. The only thing that has irked me a little bit is that this has been so politicized. A few years ago, supposedly China hacked into over 20 million federal records, a lot of personal data. All federal employees who were hacked got a letter from the federal government talking about some protections that we had. And at the time, I was mildly upset, but there was no coverage on it. And I just wish it wouldn't have been quite as politicized.
Well, Stephen, can I ask you, what about the points that President-elect Trump makes that in the past intelligence has been wrong? For example, with the assessment that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq before the Iraq War.
I think that there probably is some credence to that, but I don't put a lot on that with Mr. Trump saying that. From an aspect of, they have a very difficult job, our intelligence. All of our leaders, including our president now, including our future president, they must have some skepticism because there could be very, very significant things that have to be done because of the hacking. Major decisions are made, up to and including war. So I don't question anybody bringing in intelligence and really making sure, if they're going to make a significant decision, to really pick and ask questions of our intelligence. But on the whole, I do trust our intelligence. I think they're very brave people. I think that they have a job that personally I wouldn't want to do. No, I support our intelligence.
Okay.
And whatever they say, I'm going to stick with their conclusions.
Okay, more from the New York Times today about the briefing with the president-elect. It says the Senate hearing was a prelude to an extraordinary meeting scheduled for Friday when Mr. Clapper and other intelligence chiefs will repeat for Mr. Trump the same detailed, highly classified briefing on the Russian attack that President Obama received on Thursday. In effect, they will be telling the president-elect that the spy agencies believe he won with the assist from President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Then Mr. Trump will have to say whether he accepts the agency's basic findings on Russia's role or holds to his previous contention that inept, politicized American spies have gotten the perpetrator of the hacking wrong. that would throw the intelligence agencies into a crisis of credibility and status with few, if any, precedents. Robert's calling from Clayton, Missouri, on our independent line. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, sweetheart. How you doing this morning?
And what do you think about intelligence? Do you trust it?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I know how hard these guys in the intelligence service work for our country. And I am appalled at the way Mr. Trump is trashing these people. I mean, Mr. Trump reminds me of Henry VIII of England or Adolf Hitler. His ways are movable. No one can never know him. He's a dangerous man. And, I mean, to trash our intelligence agents, these people that go out and work hard to secure our country, and he puts them down like they're nothing. This man is very dangerous. And like Mr. Biden said yesterday, why don't he just grow up? Thank you.
Okay. Yesterday, White House spokesman Josh Earnest was asked how confident the president is in intelligence. Let's take a look at what he said.
The president has time and time again asked the intelligence community to provide him solid, up-to-date, unvarnished assessments about what's happening around the world. And the president's decision-making has been very well served by that. And the president is entirely confident that that's what they've produced in this case. Because there's not, again, according to the public statement that we saw from the intelligence community that was issued on paper before the election, and based on the testimony that you saw from leaders in the intelligence community today, this is not one of those scenarios where the intelligence community has to make a tough call based only on partial information. They've been quite definitive, and what you heard from some of those officials today is not just that they continue to have confidence in the assessment that they issued back in October, but based on the work that they have done in the intervening months, they actually have more confidence in the conclusion that they put forward in October. So I think the other thing that bears mentioning, Josh, is that the men and women of the intelligence community are experts in their field. These are men and women who don't do those jobs because they are getting a big paycheck. In many cases, the men and women who serve in our intelligence community are experts who could command a much higher salary in the private sector. But they choose to dedicate their talents to protecting the country. They don't do it for the glory because in many cases, members of the intelligence community have to do their work in secret. And so their names are never made public. And in some cases, those officers have paid the ultimate sacrifice and given their lives for this country. And even now, even though they have made that remarkable sacrifice, their names are prevented from being made public because of the damage it could potentially do to our national security. So the men and women of the United States intelligence community are patriots. They're experts, and they're dedicated to getting the facts right and providing information regardless of their political motivation or their political preference. And President Obama has benefited enormously from their service, their sacrifice, their professionalism, and their expertise.
Shirley's on our Democratic line from Orange, Texas. Hi, Shirley.
Good morning. I believe in our intelligence. I don't know that much about them, but what I hear on TV, so I'm all the way for it. So one more thing I would like to say that Trump, he don't want you to know. He don't want to talk about Putin because his hand is all over it. Because he don't want us to know that he is involved in the election. He had something to do with Hillary Clinton not winning the Democratic Party. He is all over it. And he know that's when he don't want to talk because he's scared that Putin going to come back and tell something on him. So he's not slick. And so all you guys voted for him, y'all going to get just what y'all deserve. And my mom always told me, say, whatever you do in the dark, it's going to come to a light. So he doesn't come into a light. You have a good day. Thank you.
All right, Catherine's calling on our Republican line from El Monte, California. Catherine, do you trust U.S. intelligence?
No, I don't.
And why not?
I don't believe that our intelligence people right now are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I believe that they're imposed upon by President Obama. I believe that all these things that have been happening are being brushed under the rug because he has all kinds of information that he has been doing criminal activity. And so therefore, he is making sure that all of his evil deeds are going to be brushed under the table by pointing the finger at Donald Trump and pointing the finger at Putin or any other country so that he doesn't have to have his deeds come to light. I really believe, and I am just a grandma here in El Monte, California. I love my neighbors, and I pray for our country every day. And I am not stupid. I have gone to college some, but I'm not stupid. And I know that if our president that we have now, Obama, cared about the people, he would have made sure that all those emails that Hillary Clinton destroyed, and all those things would have been overseen by a correct intelligence agency. But it wasn't. He didn't go through that. He had people that were bribed and bothered, and they did not tell the truth. They lied. And over and over again, Hillary Clinton lied. And it was just brushed under the rug.
Okay.
And you expect us out here to believe that our intelligence agencies are right on right now? Please, we're not stupid.
Okay, and joining us now on the phone is Karen Demirjian. She is a congressional reporter at the Washington Post, and she's here to give us more from the highlights of yesterday's Senate hearings with our intelligence officials. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, Karen.
Good morning.
So give us the highlights about what happened yesterday. What new was uncovered from this hearing?
Well, the new stuff that is actually, content-based about what happened or what we're supposed to be doing as a result, that we're not going to find out until next week when this report that the Director of National Intelligence has been preparing is partially released to the public. But we did get to see some of the tensions on pretty stark display. The intelligence chiefs are not super happy about a lot of the climate that's been around of doubting their work. A lot of the members of Congress are not very happy about some of the stuff that the president-elect has been saying. Just I overheard your caller's last call, disparaging the intelligence community. Also, the intelligence chiefs are saying we really need to have a stronger response against cyber attacks like this. And that doesn't mean that we can prevent every cyber attack. It doesn't mean that we should be responding with cyber attacks of our own, but that we should be thinking about additional sanctions against Russia and also launching a counter-propaganda effort, because so much of what the Russian involvement that was related to the election was, okay, part of it was hacks, but part of it was also this spread of fake news and false information that it's very difficult to gauge how that affected the election, but it was out there, it poisoned the environment, potentially not to the point of actually having affected anything of the way things turned out, but that is bad when that sort of stuff happens, and we have to be focused on that. Clapper called for a U.S. Information Agency on steroids, basically, as part of the results. So we'll be seeing a lot on that topic, too, I believe, once that report is, partially released to the public. Congress is getting briefed on it next week, too.
So talk a little bit more about that aspect of it, this information propaganda war that intelligence officials talked about beyond the hacking. Did they make suggestions about how to fix it beyond bringing back this information agency that you were talking about?
No, and you can see kind of really where the intelligence agency, the intelligence community kind of sees the limitations of its purview, of its jurisdiction in this area. It's their job to say, here's what happened, here's what we're doing, to kind of lay out the tick-tock of the plan and everything that went into it. But they stopped short every time a member of the committee asked them, well, what should we do? They were like, those are policy decisions, that's your job, right? So what we're going to end up seeing probably is that there's going to be a lot of focus on this topic. It's actually been addressed to some degree in Congress, just not completely. In the defense bill that passed last month, lawmakers kind of were addressing this whole idea of, what's going on with the United States' ability to project its position. I mean, back in the Cold War, we had a stronger Voice of America. There was Radio Free Europe that everybody listened to. And that kind of came up in the hearing yesterday, too, where they were saying, look, no one listens to the radio anymore. We don't do this social media online stuff as well as the Russians do. Russia, I mean, first of all, the state controls most of the media in Russia. Also, it's been pretty well documented through articles that there is this kind of trolling operation that comes out of that country that gets onto Twitter, gets onto Facebook, gets onto all of social media. And they were basically saying yesterday that part of this is in the dissemination of misinformation. And this is a classic sort of move that Russia has perfected in other countries as well. When you make people not sure of exactly what's true, when you have people that, are spreading and passing around news stories that are not based on facts, are not real, and are just fake fabrications. And granted, Russia was not the only actor to be doing that. There were independent people as well. But the intelligence community is basically saying this is classic Russian stuff. And as many of the members on the committee were pointing out, I mean, it even got up to the point where you have, Flynn, who's the incoming national security advisor, passing around some of these stories, which may not have been the ones that, came out of Russia specifically, but there's this climate of fake news that now we're all grappling with how to parse through.
Well, let me ask, did any of the members of the committee express any doubt about the trustworthiness about U.S. intelligence that we've seen being expressed by President-elect Donald Trump?
Well, it's interesting because, and I'll extrapolate a little beyond just the confines of the committee room, because it was pretty respectful treatment and discussions with the intelligence chiefs since they were sitting right there in front of them. Doubt, sure, but not to the same level. But what I have been hearing across the board in Congress is that you have a lot of members, pretty much all of them except for maybe a small handful, saying, of course I trust these people. They're the best among us. Of course I believe in the intelligence. Yes, I think that it's right. But they stop short, a number of Republicans especially will stop short of this at one point, which is the CIA and the FBI have assessed that the reason that Russia got involved with these hacks that were related to the election, the DNC, Podesta's emails, etc., was because they were trying to assist Trump and assist his chances of winning. They say they don't know whether it worked. It's impossible to gauge. This is not manipulating vote totals or hacking election machines. But they said that that was the purpose. A lot of Republicans will say, well, of course I trust the intelligence community, but I don't trust that. And then this is this dichotomy, right? It's just like, how far does your trust go in their assessments? And a lot of them are drawing the line at the point at which this becomes clearly political. I'm not saying it's clearly political that the intelligence community is making a political statement, but it has political implications when you start saying, well, maybe they got involved because they were trying to advance Trump's chances. That is something that a lot of GOP members, they just can't sit with.
Okay, Karen Demerjian, congressional reporter for The Washington Post. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we're talking with our viewers about whether you trust U.S. intelligence. Sandra's calling from Alabama on our independent line. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning, and I have about two things to say. I do not trust the intelligence that we have now for the simple reason I watch C-SPAN religiously on all channels, and I seen a gentleman on there, it's been a month or so ago, who was in the CIA or whatever it is, FBI, one of the intelligence class people, programs, and he was telling how that after 9/11 they had this thing built up for how they could catch terrorists. New York was using some of the methods they came up with, and he said when Obama came into office that they came to the office where he was at and told them to purge all the machines of anyone with a Muslim name to get it out. They didn't care. And he said all the leads they had on potential terrorists had to be just wiped away. So I think Trump needs to get his own people in there, go back and find where those names went to and start from day one and do their own search. That's one of the things, because I heard that man with my own ears on C-SPAN. And the second thing is Democrats, I hear them calling all the time, why did we lose? We don't understand why we lost the battle. I used to be a Democrat, and I can tell them from this reason why they lost it. They used to stand for God, country, Bible, and family years and years ago. They have totally switched, If you're a person who believes in God, country, family, and Bible, you are, as Hillary Clinton called, a deplorable. There is no morals. The last, I looked at with the Democrats convention, I've seen them with my own eyes and heard it, where they voted God out of their platform. And they've got to understand they may be these people on the coast or a few people here and there that wants all of their letting people go to the bathroom if they feel like they're a girl or a boy that day. It don't matter. We in the middle, we care. We raise our children to be who they are, and we raise them by values. And if they want to keep on doing what they're doing, they'll never have another not too many people join the Democrat Party. Okay. And Republicans, some of them are getting almost just as bad. I'm so thankful that God put Trump in and some strong Republicans in that will hold the values in. It means more than the money. I mean, the economy is good, the economy's got to be great. But if you don't have moral values to hold your country together, it's going to disintegrate.
Okay, but let's, according to CNN, U.S. intelligence agencies have identified a go-between between Russia and WikiLeaks. According to CNN, it says U.S. intelligence has identified the go-betweens the Russians used to provide stolen emails to WikiLeaks, according to U.S. officials familiar with the classified intelligence report that was presented to President Barack Obama. In a Fox News interview earlier this week, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange denied that Russia was the source of leaked Democratic emails that roiled the 2016 election to the detriment of President-elect Donald Trump's rival, Democrat Hillary Clinton. Meanwhile, U.S. intelligence has received new information following the election that gave agencies increased confidence that Russia carried out the hack and did so in part to help Mr. Trump win. Donald Trump has responded to this assertion that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks are connected directly. He tweeted, Julian Assange said, quote, a 14-year-old could have hacked Podesta. Why was DNC so careless? Also said Russians did not give him the info. In another tweet, he said the dishonest media like saying that I am in agreement with Julian Assange. Wrong. I simply state what he states. It is for the people to make up their minds as to the truth. The media lies to make it look like I am against, quote, intelligence, when in fact I am a big fan. Eric is calling from Cherokee, North Carolina on our independent line. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am well. And what do you think about U.S. intelligence? Do you trust it?
Yes, ma'am. I trust it to the best of the ability that they're doing. And this is the thing. Now, nobody works in intelligence but the intelligence community. So you really don't understand what the job is like unless you're in it. So they're doing the best they can. They're doing the absolute best they can. And throughout human history, there's been all kinds of problems with everything. And the best that we can do is to help, let's say, we to stick behind them. You know, I mean, when you down somebody, that's just going to make them nervous, and they're gonna feel poorly about themselves or the community or whatever. Okay, now I don't know much about the computers because I don't use them. And one thing that I'd like to say about the classified material, if you go back to paper with watermarks on or something like that, well, then there's not going to be any transfer of that. Written on paper by hand. Now, that might sound obsolete, but who's going to get a hold of it? And another thing I'd like to say is, regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, we're all Americans. And if you would like to make the nation better and help the world, make your world better. And that means helping the people next door to you and doing whatever you can. And remember this, everybody is doing the best they can with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that they have.
Okay. Rob's on our independent line from Port Crane, New York. Good morning, Rob. Rob, are you there? Okay, well, we have Roy on the line from Sun City, California, on our Democratic line. Hi, Roy.
Hi, how are you? Good morning and Happy New Year.
You as well. And what do you think about U.S. intelligence? Is it trustworthy?
I think it is. These people, I'm a 20-year veteran of the military, and I'm aware that most of these individuals are military in the intelligence community, and they take their job seriously. Now, I hear a lot of Trump supporters calling in, doubting the validity of this upcoming report. They didn't doubt what FBI Director Toomey said. They readily accepted that. Now, I understand Mr. Trump feels this way because he doesn't want to cast a shadow of doubt over his presidency. But you can't go against the intelligence agencies.
Well, Roy, what would you like to see the president-elect say today after he himself meets with the top intelligence officials to get the full debrief about Russian involvement? Would you like to see him publicly say, oh, now I have more confidence, or what would you like to see him say?
He needs to say something because he's going to need these people. He can't replace them all. As the lady from El Monte called in and suggested, the lady from Alabama said they need to get rid of all these people and get his own people that will tell him what he likes to hear. That is extremely dangerous for our security.
Okay. And in another tweet, the president-elect said the, quote, intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. That's the second time he tweeted about the issue and put the word intelligence in quotation marks, talking about the debriefing that's scheduled for later today. Mike's calling from Germantown, Maryland on our Republican line. Do you trust U.S. intelligence, Mike?
No, I don't trust them any further than I can throw them. What people need to realize is that the CIA is not a patriotic organization. Its sole purpose is to overthrow democratically elected governments in the third world. They overthrew the Mossadegh regime in Iran because Mossadegh wanted to give more profits to the people rather than the global corporations. The CIA is a terrorist, criminal organization, and it's the lowest of the low. They lied about WMDs. They lied about everything. John F. Kennedy wanted to abolish the CIA and scatter it to the four winds of the earth, and shortly afterwards he was assassinated. So the CIA should be abolished, and the FBI should as well.
Okay. Yesterday, House Speaker Paul Ryan was asked if he has trust in U.S. intelligence information. Let's take a look at what his response was.
Well, they don't always get everything right. We've seen that clearly, but I do have faith that our men and women in our intelligence community are doing an incredible job, sacrificing for our country, but there's always room for improvement. Look, we overhauled this about a decade ago after 9/11 when we realized the intelligence community wasn't getting things right. So clearly there's room for improvement on these things.
Do you have any doubts about their assessment in the instance of Russia meddling in the United States?
No, Russia clearly tried to meddle in our political system. No two ways about it. Let me say a couple of things. First of all, and I think this is what the president-elect is legitimately upset about, there are attempts on the left to try and delegitimize this election. That's just bogus. He won fair and square. He won clearly and convincingly. Russia didn't tell Hillary Clinton not to go to Wisconsin or Michigan. They didn't put the server in her basement or put the stuff on Anthony Weiner's laptop. He won the election fair and square, clearly and convincingly. Okay? Now, having said that, do we ever condone any foreign actor, any outside interference from trying to mess with our elections? Of course not. We've been saying this all along. But let's just put this in the proper perspective. And that is, let's deny those who are trying to delegitimize the presidency before it starts, while doing what we need to do to make sure, going forward, that outside actors don't interfere with our political system.
Paul's on our Democratic line, calling from Oliphant, Pennsylvania. Paul, do you have confidence in U.S. intelligence?
Well, look, I know the CIA has done a lot of bad stuff in the past. But it's not just them. It's 17 intelligence agencies. These are the people that he has to rely upon if he's going to run this country. And, you know, there was only one president that didn't believe the CIA, didn't believe the FBI. And I heard that Trump, he doesn't want the Secret Service. He wants his own guys. The only other president that ever did those three things was Richard Nixon.
Okay, a little bit more about yesterday's hearing. It says that Mr. Clapper noted that while most of the public focus over the past 6 months has been on Russian hacking of Democratic Party or organizations, the Russian campaign of fake news, often promoted on social media, should not be overlooked. He pointed to Russia Today, also known as RT, a Russian government-funded international television network that Clapper said is pushing a point of view disparaging our system, our alleged hypocrisy about human rights. Whether it was RT's use of social media, fake news, he said, they exercised all of those capabilities in addition to the hacking. Clapper later said that to counter Russian propaganda, the United States should undertake a more aggressive counter-propaganda efforts, something akin to the beefed-up U.S. Information Agency, which was dissolved in 1999. That was more Washington Post reporting on yesterday's hearing with intelligence officials. We're asking you if you trust U.S. intelligence. Democrats can call 202-748-8000, Republicans 202-748-8001, and Independents 202-748-8002. On our independent line now is Tim calling in from Box Farms, New Mexico. Tim, what do you think?
Well, I think that we can trust the intelligence agency up to a certain point. You have to have all the information. That way it can make you a smarter person, a more well-informed person. Donald Trump is on a path to destroy the CIA, destroy the media, because he doesn't want anybody to looking into the things that he's going to be doing. As far as I'm concerned, he's going to be in trouble with the emollients clause as soon as he gets sworn in. Nobody knows where his money is at, and nobody will know when he makes a decision whether it's for personal gain. It scares the hell out of me.
Okay, and some more news about recent moves within the Trump transition team. According to the Washington Post, Trump has hired a retired senator to be his own intelligence director. It says President-elect Donald Trump is expected to name former Senator Daniel Coats, a Republican of Indiana, to be his director of national intelligence, a position some of Trump's own advisors suggest is unneeded. A Trump transition team official said Thursday Coats, who is seen as a traditional Republican, served a total of 16 years in the Senate during 2 separate stretches and was ambassador to Germany during George W. Bush's presidency. The Washington Post also points out that a departure from the Trump transition team. It says former CI Director James Woolsey Jr., a veteran of 4 presidential administrations, resigned Thursday from Trump's transition team because of growing tensions over Trump's vision for intelligence agencies. It says people close to Woolsey said that he had been excluded in recent weeks from discussions on intelligence matters with Trump and retired Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn, the incoming White House National Security Advisor. They said Woolsey had grown increasingly uncomfortable lending his name and credibility to the transition team without being consulted. Woolsey was taken aback by this week's report that Trump is considering revamping the country's intelligence framework and said these people who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Up next, we have Ben. Ben's calling in from Cordova, Tennessee, on our Democratic line. Ben, do you trust U.S. intelligence?
Well, I trust some of them. Happy New Year's to you, first of all. I trust some. Anytime there's a man got a mouth on anything, he's willing to lie, and he can lie. So, hey, this is American. We got to adapt to this here. If you go back to the Bush days, they lied about the war on that. So, yes, the intelligence can lie. It's all depending who's in power. Thank you.
Okay, and Elizabeth is calling in from Ventura, California on our Republican line. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, I trust our intelligence when you have 17 separate agencies making these statements. And I don't understand why nobody's questioning his Twitter account. I understand that's not exactly secure. Hillary Clinton went through 13 hearings because she had that server, and she had it for a very long time. And we went back and forth about emails. This man has changed everything in our government. I call on all the Republicans that are steadfast Ronald Reagan Republicans and to get them to rally and to take a stand against this man. This man is not our president in terms of what he can do, what he's done. He's already using his president-elect status to run the country. And on the 11th of this month, all of those hearings for about 6 people are going to be on one day. I believe the Republicans have gone so far, they have gone into a coup d'etat. The day they went in, the Speaker of the House had this already planned, all the Republicans, that they were taking out the Independent Ethics Committee. That is a part of our governance. He is dismantling our governance, and he is not a president. If the president doesn't listen to any intelligence, then he is not equipped to be the president. Okay. I'll tell you, the D in Donald, mark my words, is for danger.
Okay. And in some other headlines this morning, according to The Hill, Donald Trump and the GOP are crafting a plan to build the border wall with taxpayer funds. It says Donald Trump's team and GOP House lawmakers are working on a plan to build the president-elect's proposed wall along the U.S.-Mexico border using American tax dollars, according to multiple reports. CNN reported Thursday that Republican leaders hope to fund the wall project through the appropriations process as early as April, citing House GOP officials. Trump has long promised that Mexico will pay for construction of the wall, though his campaign has previously said that Mexico will reimburse the U.S. for the project's costs. And John's calling in from Gladstone, Illinois, in our Democratic line. John, do you have confidence in U.S. intelligence?
Yes, I sure do. I don't think there's any reason to not believe what they're telling us. We need people like this gathering information around this world. And I'll tell you what, these Republicans, in my neck of the woods, there's nothing square coming out of their mouths. We call them round mouths. And I think they need to settle down and take America in their heart. Thank you.
Okay. And we have Sankofa calling in from Marietta, Georgia on our independent line. Did I say that correctly?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. And do you trust U.S. intelligence?
No, I really don't trust them. First of all, Americans have really amnesia. Did we forget how the intelligence, when I say I don't trust the political people because they cherry pick, just like the vice president for George Bush, he cherry picked that information when he was looking for justification for Iraq. That all turned out to be wrong. Not only that, but our CIA have not only interfered in other people's, in other countries and who they choose for their leadership, they've killed them and assassinated them. Why do we think that it's okay for us? We don't want anybody interfering in our election, but we go all over the world decide who is the president or the leaders of other people's country. We take away other people's right to determine who leads them. So, no, I don't trust them. And then when I look at what the FBI did during the 60s and how they manipulated information for Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers, no, I don't trust them.
Okay. And in response to the report that that President-elect Trump and House Republicans are crafting a plan for U.S. funding of the wall, this morning, President-elect Trump tweeted, "The dishonest media does not report that any money spent on building the Great Wall for the sake of speed will be paid back by Mexico later. An update by the president-elect, who is tweeting this morning about the events of the week. Mansa's calling in from Capitol Heights, Maryland, on our Republican line. Do you trust U.S. intelligence?
Yes, I trust them. I trust them to do what they always done. They're not governed under the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or the Declaration of Independence. So the intelligence agencies is like lawless agencies, because it's run by, it's like a hidden secret that is run by a bunch of satanic psychopaths. So, yeah, they're going to continue to murder people and make it look like suicide. They're going to continue to fake deaths, say people die when they fake their death. They're going to continue to do things like that. And I read this book called Confession of an Economic Hitman, that this guy got into a lot of things that the intelligence agencies done. They didn't involve themselves in a lot of people's elections. They just did a blatant coup in Ukraine with Victoria Nuland when she said F the EU. And so this is what they do. So you have to be insane to think they're going to tell you the truth, because that's the last thing that they're going to do.
Okay.
Is tell you the truth.
Let's see a little bit more from yesterday's hearing with intelligence officials. During that hearing, Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill asked Director Clapper why the work of the intelligence agencies would be questioned. Let's take a look.
So let's talk about who benefits from a president-elect trashing the intelligence community. Who benefits from that, Director Clapper? The American people, them losing confidence in the intelligence community and the work of the intelligence community. Who actually is the benefactor of someone who is about to become commander-in-chief trashing the intelligence community?
I think there is an important distinction here between healthy skepticism, which policymakers, to include policymaker number one, should always have for intelligence, but I think there's a difference between skepticism and disparagement.
And I assume that the biggest benefactors of the American people having less confidence in the intelligence community are, in fact, the actors you have named today: Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, and ISIS.
The intelligence community is not perfect. We are an organization of human beings, and we're prone sometimes to make errors. I don't think the intelligence community gets the credit it's due for what it does day in and day out to keep this nation safe and secure, and the number of plots, just one example, terrorist plots that have been thwarted, both those focused on this country and other countries.
I want to thank the chairman, and I want to thank Senator Graham and others. There have been others, I can count on maybe a little bit more than one hand, who have stood up in a non-political way to defend the intelligence community over the last few weeks. The notion that the soon elected leader of this country would put Julian Assange on a pedestal compared to the men and women of the intelligence community and the military that is so deeply embedded in the intelligence community, I think it should bring about a hue and cry, no matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. There should be howls. And mark my word, if the roles were reversed, there would be howls from the Republican side of the aisle.
Barbara's calling from Roanoke, Virginia, on our Democratic line. Hi, Barbara.
Hi. Of course, I do not trust Donald Trump. We're seeing now what we got when we elected a businessman. He's used to just dictating to people without any concern for the facts. And I don't trust his followers because they only listen to right-wing media. They do not care about facts. One thing I'd like to focus on is when Trump tweeted that I'm only saying what Assange says. That means he is a mouthpiece for WikiLeaks, and his followers say, I'm only saying what Trump says. So they have no interest in facts. He thumbed his nose at the daily intel briefings, and I think, he's whining about delaying his meeting with them until today. Well, yesterday, if he had had any sense, instead of tweeting, he would have watched the hearings that you carried on C-SPAN, and he would have seen they were very busy yesterday, and there was a legitimate reason to put off meeting with him until today because he does no preparation. They had to do all their testimony yesterday all day long and all the preparation for that. And they are very serious, intelligent people. He's like Assange. He just spews whatever he wants out, and his followers believe it. And that is the scariest thing about this upcoming administration.
Okay. All right. We have some other headlines. According to the Washington Times, the Obamacare repeal is dividing Americans in terms of opinion. Says the American public remains deeply divided over Obamacare, but only 1 in 5 back a Republican plan to first repeal the law, then come up with a replacement, according to a timely poll that says most people want Congress to have a firm alternative in hand before it pulls the plug on the existing system. The story goes on to say some 49% of Americans want the law repealed and 47% do not, according to the nonpartisan Kaiser Family Foundation. Yet only 20% say Congress should vote to repeal the law immediately and work out the details of a replacement plan later. We have John calling in from Florida on our Republican line. John, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I failed. I was watching the House meetings yesterday and missed the Senate, so I watched the Senate hearings all night long when I finally got them back on, and I'm impressed with the honesty and integrity, the way things are presented. Even the oxymoron that we used to hear years ago about military intelligence, that was really just a humorous thing. Those gentlemen are putting their life, their careers on the line, doing the job they were asked to do. And I'm sort of amazed with listening to the callers today of everybody politicizing everything and wondering what Donald Trump would or should say. Donald Trump will say what he wants to say. That's the way our country is. So anyways, I give great credit to the intelligence agencies, and they're doing a very good job, I think. I don't know. That's my opinion also. And just one other thing, people keep saying, well, they did wrong or made mistakes about Iran, about Iraq and their military weapons of destruction. I can remember back those days, and it seems that people overlooked one bit of information. It may have been disinformation. I don't know. But there was some comments about these convoys leaving Iraq into Syria and eventually getting into the Bekaa Valley. What was in those convoys, or if those convoys actually existed, I don't know. But there was some comments about movement of their weapons into Syria. But thank you for listening to my comments.
Okay, and other headlines, critics say the House rule is a threat to civil service, a rule that was passed by House Republicans. It says House Republicans this week reinstated an arcane procedural rule that enables lawmakers to reach deep into the budget and slash the pay of an individual federal worker down to $1. A move that threatens to upend the 130-year-old civil service. According to the Washington Post, the Holman Rule, named after the Indiana congressman who devised it in 1876, empowers any member of Congress to propose amending an appropriations bill to single out a government employee or cut a specific program. The use of the rule would not be simple. The majority of the House and Senate will still have to approve any such amendment. At the same time, opponents and supporters agree that the work of 2.1 million civil servants, designed to be insulated from politics, is now vulnerable to the whims of elected officials. Robert's calling in from Waldorf, Maryland on our independent line. Robert, do you have confidence in U.S. intelligence?
Is this the same intelligence departments that we have in this country that gave us the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? This is the same CIA that's given us the lie that a videotape was responsible for Benghazi when we know that wasn't. This is the same intelligence department that knew that we had 20 Muslim hijackers in this country and allowed them to fly planes into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. Is this the intelligence department, the department that we're talking about? The media was so upset with the intelligence over the weapons of mass destruction that never was found, that never existed. The media attacked this daily. Now all of a sudden the media loves the intelligence department. Is this the same intelligence department we're talking about, ma'am?
Okay. Jerry is calling from Fort Lauderdale, Florida on our Democratic line. Jerry, do you trust U.S. intelligence?
I mean, like I said, it's a good question, but it depends because nowadays every bit of information is being politicized. Everything is about politics. I trust them, but it depends on the context. But in this particular situation, why doesn't the intelligence community let the American people be the judge on this? I say they should put out as much information as possible, of course, without compromising U.S. interests and U.S. security. But we are not dumb. We are able to understand and, to see what's going on. So put out some credible and some, information, and we will decide. But let me talk about a little bit something that is related to the subject today. The Electoral College, they didn't have the chance to get briefed on this because the Electoral College is a sort of like deliberative body because it's like the Supreme Court somehow, yes. It's not the same function, but they are supposedly high, well-informed people to make high decisions for the country. What happened to me is like a coup d'etat. Yes, it's like a coup d'etat because when some other countries or some other entities, but those entities can be here as well. Oh, yes, that's possible. But when they find ways to manipulate people's opinion, people's mind, and make them change their vote, this is really scary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Phil's calling in from Fairfield, Connecticut on our Republican line. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning. I'm just a little bit curious. These guys who were in front of the Senate yesterday, Clapper, Brennan, all of those, weren't they also in front of the Senate when the Edward Snowden revelations came out? And weren't they also later found out to have committed perjury, claiming a lot of stuff that they said Snowden was lying when it turned out Snowden was not lying? Also, I want to know, too, the Chinese have been hacking U.S. agencies for years. Most recently, it was discovered that the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation was being hacked by the Chinese for about 6 years, and I don't seem to remember any hue and cry going on about this. And one other thing, too, I have to say with the media, they always say, oh, this is a bipartisan outrage. Well, actually, it's not. The only two Republicans who are shooting their mouths off about this whole thing is that grouchy old John McCain and that closet queen Lindsey Graham. I mean, the Republican Party as a whole are not interested in this, and they don't believe a lot of the partisan nonsense which is being peddled because Brennan, Clapper, and all those guys, they're all political appointees. They are not to be taken seriously.
David's calling from Conway, Massachusetts on our independent line. David, do you trust U.S. intelligence?
Sometimes I do. I think we have to remember that in order to have a free democracy, we need an open media and we need an informed public. And 1996, we had the Communications Act, which allowed multimedia conglomerates to take over the media. So we have a limited free press, and that has hurt us. And we saw that the call to war in 2003 that was supported by the media while people protested. And then we saw Mr. Clapper, as the last caller pointed out, sit in front of Congress and perjure himself about the Snowden revelations. So I think we have to take a lot of this with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Yes, I believe they go ahead.
No, you finish up quickly.
Well, I just would say that we need to take things with a grain of salt. Yeah, I believe they hacked us, but we need to move forward.
Ponga is calling from Rose Hill, North Carolina, on our Democratic line. Hi, Ponga.
Hello.
And do you trust U.S. intelligence?
I ain't gonna say whether I trust it, but I trust the fact that Donald Trump was the one that told Russia to hack Hillary emails because he said it on TV in front of millions of people. He said his own self.
Okay.
He told them to hack her email. So it was out his own mouth.
Okay, and we're going to continue this discussion about Russia with two experts on Russia and cybersecurity, William Pomerantz of the Wilson Center and James Lewis of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. We'll be right back.